You missed all the trees.
The city
Yep.
and the Oregon.
Hello, Dale. Good.
All sort of-
Yeah, no kidding.
So.
What is?
Yeah.
I gotta be done
Viola.
at 7. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Kevin, are we gonna have a timer?
He's feeling,
For the updates. Yeah,
Yeah, it happens there.
I'm queuing it if you want, but I
Okay,
can start with.
that's fine.
This is the person you should ask that.
Yeah, I will. Would you like the whole box? There's, it looks like I have a cover.
Doing A+ Angie.
okay, so guess what, y'all?
Yeah. Oh, mine's.
All right. Good morning, commissioners. Welcome, and over to you, Chair Harrington.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to February 7th. I'm going to do something fun first. Thank you, Philip, for getting us big buttons so that when we go to NACO, people will know where we're from. With our little tiny lapel pins, it was a little harder, which means you have saved not only me, but also my colleagues from wearing Catherine's handcrafted buttons. So we look far more professional. So thank you.
I'm not quite so sure. There's tape on the back of this. Nice job. Where's Phil? Nice job. This is so handcrafted.
No, I did this one.
Oh, you did this one. Oh, okay.
This is the one.
Oh,
It's in your office.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
have
say,
the,
my office one has some. extras,
Yes.
So.
this one goes with Pinterest.
Oh, whoa.
So thank you, Philip. I really like the nice professional ones. They're not too bad, but in a pinch, you can count on Catherine's crafting. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. Erin Doyle, are you there? She is. Thank you so much for making yourself available a little bit early. Just because of schedule needs, we needed to do this. We've all gotten the great government relations memos. They do a really good job of keeping us on the very busy journey of the state legislative session. And yesterday was the AOC Day, is what it used to be called, and it's still pretty intensive. So as your board representative, and then Commissioner Treese was there as our District 8 representative, we attended the Legislative Committee and the Board of Directors meeting. And there was one particular bill that I had pulled from the consent agenda from the Governance, Revenue, and Veterans Steering Committee meeting. It's House Bill 2089 with regard to marijuana revenue. And I had it pulled from the consent agenda for discussion and voted to abstain because we had not had the opportunity to discuss it. So, and hence this is why Erin is here, so that we have that opportunity to discuss it. Erin, would you like to give us a brief overview, and by pulling it off the consent agenda, that gave us an opportunity for a brief highlight as to why we weren't just in full support. Go ahead. Thank you, Erin. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the early accommodation. I'm coming to you from my lovely car, so pardon any technological issues that I have. House Bill 2089 is a bill that is purports to return the Measure 91 funding formula to the full amounts to the local governments and the state police departments, or the state police department that they got under the original allocation of marijuana taxes. There are multiple changes in the bill about how that formula would work. The key complexity for us as your GR team, and why we would seek your guidance on this bill, is that Measure 110 also had reformulated how the marijuana tax revenue was going to be spent. And therefore, it is likely that this would pull money away from the Measure 110 pool of funds. So if the research that Zucker has done with Greg is, we figured that between fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 2022, which would put us pre-Measure 110 and post-Measure 110, the Measure 91 funds was a loss of around $300,000 for the county. But under Measure 110, we received about $5 million in competitive grants for purposes of construction and programming related to the CAT, I believe. And if someone there knows that I'm incorrect on exactly how we spent that money, they can correct me. But so there's a difference both in the approach that is called for under House Bill 2089, which those Measure 91 funds came into our general fund and were spent however we sought to use them. But the Measure 110 fits into the approach that the board has put forward for how we deal with addiction, which is treatment and triage. The behavioral health aspect is how we approach addiction, as opposed to other approaches that usually are more reliant on the judicial system for treatment. So we wanted to make sure the board had a chance to have a conversation around the bill and what they would hope for us in outcomes. The last piece I would say is that Zucker is participating in an overall work group that is looking at how Measure 110 has been played out. This bill is not a part of that discussion. It came from a different sponsor who sits in the Revenue and Finance Committee. So one tact is that we have asked already to have this be part of the comprehensive conversation of making sure that marijuana funding, Measure 110, and all of the programmatic elements really pay for what we have to do as counties. But I want to check in with the board before we make any further decisions about how we approach that bill.
Thank you, Erin. And a couple of things that were not clear to me in the discussion amongst commissioners yesterday was that any position on this bill would indeed lead to a work group. So by the Ledge Committee saying they wanted to fully support this, I was concerned that that would send a signal that we don't want a work group. We just want to return to the prior way. Do you have could you help me understand that sequence?
So taking a position on a bill means that you advocate for that specific outcome. So passage of AOC will be advocating for the passage of House Bill 2089. That does not preclude you from participating in a work group, but the goal, it's not clear that this will happen. The goal is for folks that are working in the Measure 110 space is to have all the discussions about how we fund and allocate funding out of Measure 110 in one place.
Yeah.
And returning to the formulas of Measure 91 would hopefully be brought into that. However, it is up to the convener of the work group, which in this case is Representative Rob Nose, to make sure that that happens, but also coordination with Representative Nancy Nathanson, who is the chair of the Finance and Revenue Committee, who is also the author of the bill, would have to agree to have it be part of that conversation.
Yep. So that's the point right there, that by supporting House Bill 2089, it's a position of just revert back and take no position as to whether or not there needs to be a work group. Whereas I think that it's in our best interest to ensure that there be a work group to try and sort through these differences between Measure 110, having those dollars go towards behavioral health versus just reverting back to non-specific uses.
Yeah, I would agree with that if I can jump in here, just because too often we look at something in a silo and say, yeah, that looks really good there, and we forget the domino effect. So the study group would be able to look at that whole thing. So
yep. Any other thoughts? So Erin, we're comfortable in, so what I'm getting out of this conversation is that we're comfortable in leading towards that behavioral health coordinated effort. So if you need us to sign in on a letter or anything, please let us know.
We will do. The other thing that I just wanted to touch back on is we discussed on Thursday a couple of tax bills. I included the information in the memo. I wanted to see if there were any further questions or directions.
Ooh, and I have to say, I've lost sight of those particular bills myself.
Yeah, me too. Quickly remind me.
One is related to the local government's ability and how we charge income taxes, which could have an effect on the SHS funding. We've taken a position of please don't retroactively take away our SHS funding. The other piece of that advocacy is around future iterations if SHS would just seek renewal and approval by the voters. And the second one was about who has standing to appeal tax decisions, which could have impacts on our general counsel's office if more tax decisions are disputed using the more vast resources of organizations that come on behalf of a certain sector of taxpayer. We're just making sure that a position of opposition on that would be approved by the board.
You have a comment on that, Brad?
I do. That bill is really problematic from our perspective, so we'd support
Yep.
not
Yeah,
or opposing it.
that came through in the GR memo too. So thank you for being active on that. So I am proposing that we oppose both of these items.
Thumbs up.
Mhm.
Okay. Yep. we're
Appreciate your
there.
time and
Could I-
consideration. And please.
I just want to compliment both Aaron and Zucker for the support at AOC yesterday. They did a great job of helping us in the Ledge Committee by outlining all the bills per committee and really did a great job. So thank you for that support.
One clarification, the income tax, to my understanding, there's only a couple of entities in this area who even have the ability to do that. I certainly agree with the retro position, but if there's any compromise in this, I mean, is that
Every county can institute an income tax if they want.
we can? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Really? I learned something. Okay. Well, I don't like income taxes being by county. I just really don't. I think it's a state function, but I guess I learned something here. Yeah.
So what we're protecting is the opportunity of using tools. And what we know is Multnomah County has used it for preschool for all, and we have it in use for the regional SHS measure. None of us sit here today advocating that we promote yet again another one, but rather we don't want to see the current usage, which is being put to good use, jeopardized, nor any potential renewal in the future, and go from there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I didn't realize we could do that county by county. I should have known that, but yeah, I'm not in favor of doing anything here. That's just me.
Okay. All righty. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
board.
Erin.
Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good week down in the legislature.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to ask her. I didn't attend so I did
Still
check
here.
in. Thank you, Erin. I did check in with Senator Solman on the idea of us hosting the committee here in Washington County. And she and the committee members feel that they have provided 3 different means for public input: testifying in Salem, testifying by Zoom, or writing letters. And they will be continuing to meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. So we're off the hook, so to speak. And I know that Chair Smith was planning on attending that meeting last night, and I didn't pay any attention to their agenda for last night's meeting because I was fixed on Acre. So I don't know if there was anything there of note. Do you know? And it's okay to say no.
I always attend those meetings. There's too much to learn every time. Last night's meeting was kind of an industrial lands redo where they did a deeper dive into the McKenzie and report and the analysis that it took place in order to set the recommendations of the industrial lands subcommittee. That was the vast majority of the briefing and went over what are the companies generally looking for and how did the 79 properties across the state that were originally identified, how did they meet those criteria, focused specifically on those large lot 500 plus acre potentialities, came down to essentially access to PDX is one of the key drivers for decision making, and therefore the metro region's timeframes just to get through our traffic is about as far out as they were willing to say was going to be supported by site selectors. But then the conversation did turn to the rest of the sites can be made ready if we have an industrial readiness program for the supply side, the folks who feed up to those large lot fabs. And then there was public testimony, as there is at every meeting, like you stated, Chair. Chair Smith did provide testimony basically to the effect that Clackamas County would like to be part of the consideration. Clean Water Services also did testify, saying that they need to be at the table in any decision that's made because there are significant impacts to not just the capacity of the pipes feeding the lot, but the overall capacity of the system. And that Clean Water Services also needs to be taken care of if we're going to place anything in Washington County.
Great.
Yes, Tracy did an excellent job.
Thank you. Anything else ledge-wise right now, folks? No. Okay, thank you again for joining us.
No problem.
Okay, back to the usual board and leadership communication. Who would like, and for the record, we have the full complement of commissioners here. Who would like to go next? First, go ahead, Commissioner Treats.
I'll go first. That way I can defer to others. And I'm going to start my watch for 5 minutes. So, oops. Maybe not.
Oh, yeah.
The first topic I want to talk about is that the MPAC meeting, and we covered the high capacity transit readiness tiers that Metro developed. And I just want to say that I was really pleased about the coordination between the different parties at MPAC from the West Side. I spoke in support of the fact that West is scheduled to be studied in tier 4 at this point, and there was support for that from Nadia Hassan, Councillor Nadia Hassan, and Councillor Anthony Martin, who was there in place of Mayor Callaway. So we were all on the same page, which felt really good. And the other piece that we talked about was the garbage and recycling systems facility plan, phase 2 gap analysis. And, on the surface, it certainly seems clear that Metro understands the disparity of services that we have on the West Side versus other parts of the Metro region. But, we all emphasize that again, and that was an important piece there. There was
They give an update as to what's happening with their West Side project?
It was cursory at best.
Oh.
So there was, I asked the question about Cornelius, and they said, yes, it's on the plan, but we're not at that point yet to know when it was going to come online.
So we're just going to do more planning elsewhere.
You're taking up my time.
Yep.
Sorry.
Rewind. I yield. 30 seconds.
So I'm really trying to do this here. So, okay. The other thing is that there were positive comments about Ridwell that came from the Oregon City mayor. And so at that point, I took the opportunity to really plug our Recycle Plus program and how we are ensuring equitable access to recycling services. I attended the CDBG and home sponsor presentations workshop. That takes quite a lot of time, but we learned a whole lot, and we went through all of our rankings. So those are in the point machine right now. So we'll see how that all turns out. I also asked that organization to provide us a one-pager for our trip back to DC in case we have the opportunity to promote and plug what we're doing here locally in terms of homes and CDBG. So I'll get that to you. I attended the Washington County Chamber discussion with legislators. That was good. I listened in. There weren't a lot of legislators there, but as Commissioner Willie will let you know too, they were pulled away for a governor's press conference. I met with Preston Course, but Commissioner Willie is going to talk about that. And it was
Piling on is what you're doing.
it was a very productive meeting, and he understands it was about building fees and some of those other pieces or permit fees, and he does understand what the pressures that we face are. I had an interesting meeting with Brandon Phillips after the ERMDAC meeting, and he wanted to emphasize to me what are some interesting points about how issues get on the slate, so to speak. And it requires a 67% turnout from the neighbors to do any kind of street improvement. And he was basically saying, look, that's really a challenging percentage to reach. And it can be difficult, especially when you've got high numbers in multifamily dwellings and that type of thing. So I'm going to be talking to both Stephen and Sherry about that. I attended the State of the City in Hillsborough, which was a very well-attended event, and I'm glad I was there with other commissioners here. Yesterday, I met with Representative Ken Helm, and I just want to bring to your attention something that he brought to my attention, which is a bill that's brought forward by Representative Gamba and Representative Pham to divest PERS from any fossil fuel companies. And I think it's just something that we need to be aware of. And we should understand what the ROI is in terms of that divestiture and whether or not PERS can withstand that. So I just putting that out there for
The
your
state treasurer's being pretty clear on that.
Yes.
that,
yes, he is.
he needs every opportunity to help ensure that we can get the highest yield in order to keep PERS viable.
So I just wanted to raise that for your awareness. And I attended the ACRE meeting last night. We did a kind of a check-in temperature taking of how the council members are feeling. There was a lot of discussion about the future programming of the ACRE meetings and what we're going to do, including a potential kind of intensive retreat. And I'm done.
Yeah, you did
5
it.
minutes.
Yeah, you did.
It works. Who's next?
And Kevin, good job on the clock.
Oh, is there a clock? I didn't notice that. I was just watching mine.
No,
Yeah, you
that's
were
not.
We're actually over, but that's okay. We attributed that to Catherine. She gets 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
So take it away, Commissioner Willie.
Well, there is a lot of stuff in there, and I was trying to kind of categorize the meetings that I had over the past week. And so a part of it was the State of the Workforce breakfast and panel discussion that I went to in Portland with WSI was one of the panel members and some others. And I certainly want to give a shout out to Adrienne Chally. Sorry, Adrienne, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. She was there as well, representing certainly our ECDEV bunch. So you take that in with, we got a snapshot of what the workforce looks like. Then you jump over the next day to the WEA panel on real estate, and they were talking about commercial, industrial land, retail, personal condos. What's the impact of where's the market going with those, and what's the demands? We have an increased interest rate. We have banks who are now restricting the amount of money they will loan on construction projects. And so it's going to force all this pressure down on the affordable housing industry as well as everything else. Then you segue over to our LUT department proposing a 50% permit increase. And what is that reduction of the housing industry and the permitting going to do to that? And so is our projection going to be very accurate? And is that going to be sufficient? So where do we go from there? So a whole bunch of stuff. And then we jump in with Pam, and I met with Preston Korst with the Home Builders Association, and he was expressing his concerns about what exactly those permit increases. what impact that will have. I think everybody is trending that they're going to be okay with this, but there's going to be an increased service expectation from our IUT and permitting. So we're going to need to pay attention to that. Then you segue to I met with Marcia Kirk on to get a snapshot of what Banks is proposing. They've got home building opportunities both on the west side and east side of Banks. They've got their water situation fixed now, so they're moving ahead on some of that. But that's, I mean, literally, Banks could go from a couple thousand people to 10,000 people in the next 10 years with all of this. And so demands on the rural roads that surround Banks. Certainly Highway 6 is a safety corridor that we're working on. So lots of those implications. And then we go to North Plains, where we met with them and had the conversation about the industrial lands proposal and some of their growth stuff. So all of that stuff coming together was pretty educational, pretty interesting. So as a relief to that, I went out and cleared Salmonberry Trail with about 100 volunteers on Saturday. And it was very cool. We got a lot of the trail. I mean, you know, when you say a lot, if we get a mile of trail cleared in a 3 or 4 hour day, that's pretty darn good. And I think we approached that again. Everybody hung in there till past noon, and it was very cool. It was just people out there bringing their kids and bringing their dogs and clearing blackberry bushes and all kinds of stuff. So that was the fun part. Catherine and I sit in on the Council of Forest Trust Lands Executive Board meeting last week, where they talked about several bills pertaining to forests and certainly forest revenues and some of those things they've got. Aaron did a great job of getting me information in advance of that. So again, thank you, Aaron, for that. Had lunch with Mayor Wenzel, who's the new mayor of Forest Grove. And just to get her perspective, she has a job, so you know this will be a balance between those two, and but very enjoyable just to catch up with her. And then there's more, but I'm going to stop. 2 more things. Met with the fire chief of Gaston. I didn't even know they had a fire station out there. So it's just a little bit off of Highway 47 there. It's kind of tucked in there. It's a very nice station, and they cover a lot of, as you would expect, rural area there. So covering both a portion of Yamhill County and Washington County. So, and then met the new executive director for the Tualatin River Keepers, Glenn Fee, and found out a little bit more about him. So it's a good week.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, go.
Commissioner Rogers tossed it to me. I feel like Commissioner Willie, you were rushing last minute.
I was rushing for a whole
Because
week.
I think you wanted to meet your 5 minutes, and there I lost 10 seconds. Good morning, everyone. Happy February again, and happy Black History Month. This is a really exciting month, and I'm looking forward to the NACHO gathering that we're all going to attend. So I'm really excited. 2 things I wanted to highlight for our board. One is we've been hearing our transportation staff and myself have been hearing residents that live on or near Southwest and Burroughs roads. So myself and our transportation staff went out to that road and to see some of the safety concerns that the residents that live on that road have. And come to find out, that road is pretty interesting because there's the city of Tigard, city of Beaverton, and Washington County, all players that have a hand in it. And I just wanted to extend my gratitude to our staff and to Mayor Beatty's staff and Mayor Beatty herself for attending that meeting. And it was a really good to see firsthand what the residents are experiencing and the concerns that they have. And then to also find out that Beaverton, city of Beaverton is conducting an assessment to audit that road from a safety concern. So I look forward to learning more about what the audit finds in terms of safety. The other thing I wanted to highlight for our board is yesterday I attended the Association of Oregon Counties Health and Human Services Steering Committee, and also want to extend kudos and follow the comments Commissioner Treese made earlier about our GR team. Zakir did a phenomenal job of explaining Washington County's bill that we have around workforce, and he really did a good job of fielding the questions that they had, but really answering from an educational perspective. So Aaron and Zakir, if you're listening, good job. I really appreciated that yesterday. The other thing for that, the reason why I mentioned that steering committee is that that committee submitted letter to Ways and Means in regards to public health modernizations and the funds, and as it involves to community-based organizations. And I think if you read I'll forward the letter I came across, but there's more letters. There's process was disconnect, but that isn't the point why I'm mentioning for our board. In terms of our board and some of the implications for us, I don't think that those letters that was submitted to the Ways and Means co-chairs and the legislative leadership represents Washington County. And I just wanted to toss it to the public health experts and the GR team to see if they think it's necessary to submit a letter as Washington County, or perhaps I think as tri-counties.
So they're working it offline because there are other bills that are more important for us to get past this legislative session. And so they're continuing the counties, the metro area counties are continuing to be active with AOC, OHA on public health and public health modernization. And so there were some offline conversations about that letter. So we'll just keep working it offline. No explicit letter is recommended at this stage.
And who's they?
Commissioner Treese and I followed up with a conversation with Aaron Doyle and Zakir.
So you two will work with?
No, it's going to be worked by staff at the staff and OHA level.
Because your recommendations went to the ledge committee that we're on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. I was like, where is this? Okay. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that process. I think if you guys work it offline or whatnot, but yeah. Yeah, I as long as we're clear that what the letters that for me, I would speak for myself, the letter that was submitted does not represent my perspective. So as long as you all work with our staff and tell the story for Washington County, I'm fine with that. And I finished my time. How did that happen?
You could take half of mine. I don't care.
I wasn't even paying attention, so I apologize if I took more time. I didn't realize, I forgot to look. I was looking at you and looking at you, and then forgot to keep an eye on the time. With that, I will stop right there. You're looking at me, Kevin.
I always have the briefest, so I will spin through fast one. Last night, we had the original act. All of the projects that were proposed for Washington County were recommended for approval. So you understand that process. It really is it's just not there. It starts in Washington County. Our chair is the chair of the committee who puts together those projects, recommends them, and then they go to a regional committee, House Bill 2017 committee, the TriMet convenes. I sit on that, but it's just taking in all of the counties, and they recommend, push it on, and it goes to the act, and we simply take them and say, that sounds great, and then we push them on the OTC. But anyway, I commend the local group for putting the package together, because it wouldn't even have got as far as it did. Been talking with Greg Munn a bit, just so that you know that I think that there was ample confusion on his examples on how we might do reserves, and I have some simplified methods, and so if he wants to use that talent, yeah, he can. If he doesn't, that's fine too. But I think there's some ways to make it all understandable. Have a couple of meetings tomorrow and the next day with WEA. One is the Transportation Committee. The other one is the governance, local government relations. Is that what it is, Pam? I never been to one, but I'm curious to go see. Tanya, there's some information I'd like. It's maybe interesting to others, but particularly to me. TikTok. I keep hearing state after state who's saying on devices that are government devices, what people do on their own side devices and business, it's up to them. But what are we doing to say that that's really entertainment center? Questions on whether or not there's some activity from the Chinese government on that side or not, but what are we doing to be sure that they're not on any device, computer or phone? I mean, I don't know what we're doing, so it'd be interesting to know that. I think it's an important issue. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Daniel over there for some information. I know you were prompted to get it by Catherine, but I think it's good information. About been more than that, 10, 12 years ago, the board at that time asked what the cost of not getting gas taxes unincorporated areas, what that was in opportunity losses. You're giving us an idea about that. I also asked, what does it mean in terms of cigarette taxes, lottery taxes, I guess any other taxes that are state shared? And I think that's interesting information. You say, well, gas taxes, does that impact us? The interesting part is zero, because we're still going to get our 30%, but the 20% with the cities, we would get a big chunk if those were all inside the city. We try to push off some of that responsibility to the cities, hopefully with that newfound revenue that they have. But I don't know if I should share, but I think it's important. Catherine and I had a conversation not long ago and said, probably that's one of the things that we need to look about. What is the cost of service in those unincorporated? I happen to be in that area. Some of you, rest of you are in unincorporated area. What does it really cost? Not only in real dollars, but in opportunity dollars. I think it's a big question the board needs to grapple with over the next year. So I'll stop.
I think are you in unincorporated or you in the city?
I did my first 15 years when I lived here, when I lived in Bethany.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if you moved
No, but
out to the unincorporated, moved back in.
no, we started in the unincorporated area and in 2005, we moved to Beaverton and we've moved again, but still in Beaverton.
Well, I think it's just noted, Roy, to your point, is 3 of the commissioners live in unincorporated Washington County. So we
No,
still.
she lives in the
I
city.
live in the city of Portland.
Oh,
You live in a city? No, you're in-
I didn't think you were in city proper.
Yes, I.
Oh, my.
We got to watch out for
Just
you
2
then.
of us. then.
Okay.
I can run for mayor.
Go for it, Commissioner.
Hey,
That might be what Portland needs.
Yeah,
positive
yeah,
outcomes.
There you go.
May not be what I need.
There you go. Well, I'll try to be brief. I think I spoke at our roundtable about my having testified at the legislative behavioral health and healthcare. Thank you for confirming that. Following up on CFTLC, yeah, I did listen in on that meeting and then completely forgot about it until the Ledge Committee meeting yesterday. And once they mentioned what the amendment was, I was like, oh, yeah, I was at that meeting.
That was after she asked for clarification.
Well, they did ask for amendments just about on every bill we talked about.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But I also attended the ODF workshop on the implementation plan. And they did a better job of explaining the numbers.
Oh, okay.
Because from that CFTLC meeting, it was like with the HCP, there's one set of numbers. And with the forest management plan, there's another set of numbers. And with the implementation plan, it's another set of numbers. I like numbers, but even I'm sick of the different numbers. So it's like, they got to get their act together on the numbers. So they're working on it. I attended the Public Safety Steering Committee of AOC Friday morning. You know, I'm not a fan of Friday morning, 8 a.m. meetings, but it's important, so I did it. And similar to the HHS slate, being true to the modern methodology of AOC, if bills are controversial, in the steering committee, the committee either takes a neutral position or no position. And so that was done on a couple of bills. Last night, Commissioner Teresa and I participated in the Advisory Council on Racial Equity. They accomplished a couple of things. There's a rolling meeting topic list now. So there's a little bit more clarity about what the council will be entertaining and advising us on. They also came to agreement via a check-in conversation that they would like to spend some more intensive time together in a half-day or full-day retreat to really get anchored on county government and understanding of their opportunity versus the monthly episodic. So that's all good stuff. So onward, ho we go. Yes. And don't forget, we have a holiday weekend coming up on February 20th. So February is an interesting month. Leadership communication.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and board. First, I want to start with an exciting announcement, and I did share this in an email with the board, but for members of the public, it's important to share this exciting news that Ray Cameron has been appointed director of our juvenile department. He will be joining the county on April 3rd. Really thankful for Lynn Schroeder for agreeing for a week overlap to help ensure that we have a great onboarding process.
Thank you, Lynn.
For Ray, and he does go by Ray, even though his full name is Raymond. He currently is serving as the Associate Commissioner at the New York City Department of Probation, and he's been there since 2019. Prior to that role, Ray was the founder and executive director for Project New Hope, the New Direction, providing supportive services, case management, and after-school programming for over 5,000 clients. He also worked as the director of Family Support Services for the New York City Department of Education for approximately 5 years. Ray has extensive experience working with justice-involved youth and their families, along with his proven ability to manage innovative and evidence-based approaches to reduce recidivism and prevent juvenile crime. All of these and just his leadership presence really made him an excellent candidate for this important role. So really thrilled that we made it through this hiring process with a top candidate and that he wants to join the Washington County team. I know he's going to be visiting over this next month to introduce himself again to team members as well as to look for housing. I did send your board last week an email regarding the Housing Production Advisory Council to let you know that we did receive notice from the state through the Housing Authority, and just wanted to get any direction from your board as far as how to approach that process. Our understanding is the state is accepting applications, and it will be the governor's appointment who is on the council. We have heard interest from some of your board members for application. In addition, staff recommendation would be that we share this broadly with our partner organizations through housing and even LUT, because the areas that the state is looking at, it includes representatives with expertise in development and operations of housing, including affordable housing, permanent supportive housing, and market rate housing. And so we have a lot of partners that work with us and forwarding that application out broadly to hope for Washington County representation.
Go for it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just say, when I was a Metro counselor and we were working on the affordable housing bond, the representation by the affordable housing community, the housing, Sheila Greenlaw Fink. She was with, no, she was with the
Trying to remember, but it was.
Housing Community Fund.
That was it.
After SEPA. Yeah. But Rachel Duke was there with SEPA and Nathan Teskey with Star and Reach was there as well. So there's great expertise there.
And then just a reminder that the board's town hall is on February 23rd.
Terrific.
Is my update.
Oh, and Ms. Angie and Mr. Munn are starting their communications efforts with local media on the budget as well. So they're doing what they said they were going to do and trying to help community members better understand what we do, how we do it, and how it takes funding to do that. So,
and on that note, we do have a meeting with special district and city managers and key staff that they would like to invite on Monday, the 14th to a similar conversation, as well as meeting with our CDOs in a separate meeting, but on the same day.
go team, go. County Council to our deputy.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. I'm sitting in on behalf of Tom this week because he's out enjoying time with his family.
Role modeling being on vacation.
Yes, exactly. Lots of stuff going on with your legal team right now. We are, like everybody else, reviewing a lot of legislative bills from the legal perspective to assist the GR team, and just a whole lot of things going on right now.
Well, keep up the good work. I know that the full team, but you particularly are very plugged in with the whole work group of county governments and legal counsel and working different issues and challenges with the state. So thank you for that excellence and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Ms. Taniguchi Dennis, thank you for the testimony at the Joint Committee on Semiconductors. That's wonderful.
Thank you. And Mark and Tracy really do such a great job for us. So I'm very appreciative of them.
Well, thank you.
So, thank you, Chair, and good morning. Clean Water Services Board of Directors. Later today, you'll hear about the CWAC Budget Committee nominations and the environmental representative appointment that Mark will be presenting. So our team is actively preparing the budget and going through the CIP review process. Next week, I'll be at the National Association of Clean Water Agencies winter meeting and conference. It's going to be a really good focused discussion on utility rate setting, utility assistance programs, and how do you maintain ratepayer understanding and trust, particularly with this very increased regulatory requirements that we're seeing and the impacts on treatment facilities. And I'll be fulfilling my role as treasurer for NACWA this year. That's all I have for today.
That's an interesting, really interesting topic. So I can see where an association really helps us advance techniques and understanding, realizing that all water is recycled water. So how we use it has an impact.
And all utilities are feeling the pressures of the economy and the need to invest more in the facilities, which causes rates to rise. So how do you manage all of that and plan for the future? And Clean Water Services adds a lot to that conversation because of that long-term horizon that we do.
Yeah, and Clean Water Services had a representation out at our Salmon Berry Trail on Saturday as well, and so it's good to always see him out there. And is Banks in CWS district?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we had that conversation during the
Mhm.
the build out that they're anticipating. So,
They're very interested in water reuse to talk about what potential opportunities there would be. So it's an interesting application of what you call water harvesting out of the sewer would probably be the technology. So
Mm.
it would really help their water balance to be able to reuse water to irrigate.
yeah.
The team's thinking about it. So Joe Gall and our technical team. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those kinds of technology and creativity is going to certainly be looking forward with the growth that we have, especially out in the resident or the rural district out there.
Mhm. They're a community that's on a pump station with a very long force main to get to the system. So it's kind of an interesting thought over time. How do you manage that? And is water reuse a great opportunity there? Yeah.
Now, the city of Gaston expanded their UGB a few years ago, and they have like 700 new homes expected on the Washington County side. Do they get direct service from CWS like Banks?
Yes.
Plains?
Yes, they do. For Gaston, it's just our sewer services. It's not our stormwater services. Yeah.
And where do they get? Oh, they get wholesale water from Hillsborough or JWC.
JWC.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're another community on a pump station and a very long force main. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Any other questions or comments for our leadership team? No. Well, let's turn to our business agenda. Are there any questions or any items that commissioners think they would like to inquire of before we go into that meeting? No. We are expected to end that meeting early, right? Kevin?
Yes,
And so we're hoping to return here.
we're hoping to return here about 11:20, 11:25.
Okay. Which if I was more mindful of my agenda, then we could pick up on at least topic 2 before our lunch break. So,
Yep.
great. All righty. Well, we'll take a pause here and head on over to our board meeting for 10 o'clock. Thanks, everyone.